going in and crashing and then using my height and my size. And, yeah, bro.
All of his teammates are yelling, 19, 19. How does that feel?
Feels good. I'm working hard and just trying to help my team win. So if that's what it does, that's what it does.
This was a battle out there tonight, especially down the stretch. You have Anthony going to bat for Shaden. I mean, kind of gave you guys a little extra energy. What did you think?
It was crazy. I like that. I like the aggressiveness. I like the intensity, and I was there to back up my teammates.
I know you were in the locker room for a little while, but Denny did a fantastic job, especially defending Şengün. What did you see from him?
Yeah, Denny really helped out this team win tonight. Those big last couple possessions against Şengün and having those 2 blocks, it was really big for us and help us win this game.
By the way, I knew you'd be okay when I looked over and you were dancing and singing on the sideline.
Yeah, I was just trying to lift up my spirits.
Donovan Clingan, we're talking about the rebounds, but remember, he now at least has 1 block. And this is the longest streak. It stands at 17 consecutive games, Michael.
He's the 4th in NBA history in terms of getting this type of start, blocking shots. That is huge. Every team in the league wants to be able to have somebody they can rely on to block shots and rebound the basketball on a nightly basis.
You just passed Michael Jordan to get to that 4th spot. Huh.
How
about that?
He pretty good.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he went pretty good. All right, coming up here on the Fred Meyer post-game show, we're going to hear from Deni Avdija, the man that was showing all the strength tonight and showing what he can do on the break. Look at that speed, Michael.
Show and tell.
Woo. Hey, Trailblazer fans, check out our new City Edition uniform. We pay tribute to our iconic plaid heritage and enduring beauty of the Pacific Northwest. It is a mix of classic vibes and modern flair. Get yours now at ripcityclothing.com.
Once in a while, we all want to go wild. We just need a little help. Meet a little help. The 2024 Ford Bronco Sport Wild Edition goes over any terrain, so you can go all out. Get a wild deal on a Bronco Sport today. Lease a 2024 Bronco Sport Wild Edition with no down payment for $399 a month for 36 months. Only at your local Ford dealer.
There's something wrong with you. Bellevue, that's it. I mean, sometimes you just ain't all there. Now. Take a look. At yourself. There's something wrong with you.
Michelob Ultra, superior light beer.
You're invited to a very special evening, a John Legend Christmas. Celebrate the holidays with John Legend, live in concert. Moda Center, December 9th. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Don't miss this rare and special intimate performance with John Legend. For more, visit johnlegend.com.
Drop everything and get some magic of your own during the Xfinity Black Friday sale. Don't miss the chance to get your choice of a free 5G phone. Plus, get Xfinity Gig Internet for just $25 a month when you add unlimited mobile. That's fast, reliable internet and Wi-Fi speeds up to a gig on the go with Xfinity Mobile. All for one low price. Fly, don't walk to get these special deals. Connect to the world of Wicked this holiday. In theaters now.
Kids, your mother and I noticed you've been going through some changes.
When 2 people love each other.
We want to talk protection.
Mom, Dad, we've been married for years.
Oh, yeah. Honey, we just want to talk to you about insurance.
Ralph, Barb, you don't have to worry. No, with Heffernan, we're totally protected.
Great. So when are we having grandbabies?
Oh, yes. Heffernan Insurance Brokers. We keep you protected.
For every three-pointer the Blazers make this season, Daimler Trucks and Friends of Trees will plant 3 trees as we take a look at tonight's Threes for Trees summary. Tonight, the Blazers hitting 18 threes. That ties a season high, by the way, but that also means that 54 trees will be planted. And looking at the season total right now, it is 588 trees. Checking in on who was contributing to the three-point party, Michael. Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, Shaden Sharp all hitting 4 threes tonight.
Yeah, and the ball movement. I just thought that the Blazers were able to get the ball to the paint, collapse the defense, and kick it out. So they got threes off the catch. But then the 16, I believe, offensive rebounds led to good ball movement and threes as well.
And better spacing tonight. We talked about that.
Better spacing. When you can collapse a defense and create closeouts with ball movement and player movement, you know, I referred to it as inside-out offense as one of the points of view tonight. And the Blazers executed seamlessly, spacing the floor.
Denny Avdia had 2 of the 18 threes tonight. Here he is in the locker room.
Defending Şengün, you did a phenomenal job tonight. What was your approach?
I just feel like it's a European to European kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? So he's a talented player, but obviously, like, I'm physical. Like, I always been like a good defender, and I just took the challenge for the team, and I felt like it did them a lot of trouble. So I just kept doing what's best for the team, and it worked, I guess.
You finished with a career high.
It's like up to my face.
Did you feel like you're kind of getting under their skin?
Yeah, I feel like it was a team effort, though. Like, everybody just defended, and I feel like you can't play a good defense without all the 5 players contribute. So we got under the skin. But yeah, I'm proud of the guys. We showed our personality this game, so it's good.
There's a sequence there where you had a steal, took it all the way down, coast to coast, had an amazing finish. Then you come back down and get another steal while you're on the ground. Is that kind of your MO, kind of making your impact known with your hustle?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a hustle. I'm making the small plays, like, to help the team, and I feel like I just make the right play. I try to make the right play every time. But yeah, you know, I got some sauce here and there, so even defensively, so I got it.
You got the sauce. What did you think of Anthony down the stretch, kind of getting into it? I've never seen that from him before.
I'm proud of him. Honestly, I'm proud of him. You know, he started a little bit offensively last game, but he bounced back, and that shows a lot of the player, and especially on the personality. And I feel like today he showed what he's made of, and hopefully he's going to continue doing it, being aggressive, and he's big for our offense, so I'm happy for him.
When he went to defend Shaden's honor afterwards, I asked him about it. He said, I wanted to be an instigator tonight. How much fun would it be for Anthony to be the instigator?
I don't know what's an instigator. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I feel like everybody gonna get addicted from Toumani. I feel like people see Toumani, they're like, okay, I want to do that too. So I'm happy. I mean, we all scrapped today, and you can show it on the court. We showed it on court for sure.
Congrats, you were awesome.
Thank you so much.
Denny's final stats tonight, 14 points, but now he knows what an instigator is.
Yeah, and he qualifies.
Exactly.
Ask Şengün.
His strength tonight, that obviously stood out, but hearing him post-game, what stands out?
Well, he didn't say it, and I'll say the quiet part out loud. He said European on European. He understood the scouting report on Şengün. Şengün is a left shoulder right-hand player. So he shaded him on that side, and he didn't allow him to get to his go-to. He made him pivot to his weakness and even blocked one of those shots. That's IQ.
Denny knows the scouting report for sure. Coming up now, the Blazers are going to be taking on the Memphis Grizzlies as we look ahead in this road trip. Just 2 more games left, but Memphis, we know what happened here. The Blazers just didn't come out, didn't have a rhythm at all against the Grizzlies.
So let's give Memphis credit, because Memphis played extremely well.
They did play very well
against the Blazers, similar to Houston last night. So sometimes we don't give the other team the credit we should give them. And Memphis moved the basketball extremely well. The Blazers' #1 challenge in playing Memphis is going to be to limit the ball movement. If you let Memphis pass it anywhere they want to, it's going to be hard to catch up.
Well, that is coming up on Monday. That is when we'll see you next. That is a wrap, though, on the Fred Meyer post-game show. As the Blazers bounce back tonight in Houston, the final 104-98. Blazers continue this road trip on Monday. It's Blazers at Grizzlies. They're tipping off at 5 o'clock with our pregame show starting at 4:30 on Monday. For Michael Holton and our wonderful Trailblazers broadcasting crew, I'm Jamie Hudson. Have a great rest of your night, Rip City.
This has been a Blazers Broadcasting Sports presentation.
Obviously, the opportunity to compete at a high level each and every night. We want to win as soon as possible. I'm just excited to continue to prove myself and prove that we can be a good team as well. For me, it's just that simple. You know what I mean? I'm just locked into what we need to do to get better.
Gets himself back into the lane and takes it right down. And Anthony turns it into a triple.
Tonight's quote comes from Diesel, Shaquille O'Neal. Barbecue chicken alert. That's the best way to describe Dylan Brooks if he was about to fight Anthony Simons, because that tight braided brother was finna get cooked. E-Money, cue the intro, please.
It's the Rip City Wrap-Up, brought to you by Dick Hanna Subaru. Believe in nice. Here are your hosts, Tyree Smith, Danny Marang, and Joe Simons.
Don't come for the Florida boys, because they don't play those games, and they sure enough didn't play games tonight. Welcome into Studio C on the Rip City TV Network, episode 17 of the Rip City Wrap-Up. Tyree Smith, Danny Marang, Joe Simons joining us. We want to hear from you guys. Also, don't forget, sponsored by the good people at Dick Hanna Subaru. We want to hear from you guys using the hashtag RCWrapUp. Join the conversation in. We're watching your YouTube chats, your YouTube comments, Twitter, Instagram, all of it. Just join us and see what you guys are saying after this 104-98 victory over the Houston Rockets. We saw what happened last night. They fell 116-88, but they came back fiery hot, and they was able to get another win on the season that is supposed to be a tank for Coop flag. Boys, I'm not gonna hide the words. That's what the folks want. That's what people think.
I'm hungry now for barbecue chicken, Tyree. That just sounds good right now.
You want some Dylan Brooks? He'll cook them. He's gonna cook them tonight. I'm telling you.
There's nobody I like less in the NBA. It's
I know.
hands down.
I know.
But no, I mean, I've already seen people freaking out. They're winning too many games. Check in at game 82. Like,
it's not even Thanksgiving. We can't.
Before we even
cannot do this when anything good happens with this team. It's too long of a season, and you want to have some
joy. Like, tell me you didn't have fun
in
tonight.
This season. It was very fun. This was a great basketball game. It was really fun to watch. We talk about every single night, guys. What's the identity of this team? We can't figure it out. This is it. You have your best scorers score. You have Denny and 2 and DC mixing it up, getting in the mud. You have Ant, who's just smiling at Dylan Brooks when he's acting crazy on the sideline.
That was so fun, dude.
You have
I've never
Ant
seen
being
somebody
clutch.
throw themselves on the ground to get mad at somebody else like the way Dylan Brooks did tonight.
It was a real flag.
It was a temper tantrum. And the team want to do in terms of an identity. You have 4 guys combined for 85 of the 104 points. Jeremy, Ant, Shea, and Denny. You have DC grabbing 19 rebounds. You have 2 being a madman out there. Denny, like Coach Billups said, playing great one-on-one defense against Şengün when Şengün was trying to back him down. Denny held his ground and was very, very strong. This is exactly what you want from the Portland Trail Blazers, and I'm not going to worry about winning too many games until the Blazers actually win too many games. They've won 7 of 17. This is not too many games.
Not that many games.
It's 2024. We don't have to worry about this yet.
Who's worrying about that? Also, and you brought that up too. Like, this is a team. How are you talking about a team that wasn't good, won 21 games last year, but then tank on purpose? I don't know if they're good enough to do that, but I can tell you the core, the young core, at least from what we saw, is better than the projected win total, at least from what we were going to get.
I still don't think so. I still
Really?
think they're going to end up at like 22, 23 wins when it's all said and done. And then here's the thing, and this is the way that I look at this and the way that I always will look at this is the same thing. When you're talking about the math of the game, and I look like a giant nerd adding the glasses to it tonight.
No, you look great, Danny.
Good, man.
3 men in glasses up here.
Right?
Let's go,
It's
baby.
3 blind mice. But here's the thing. You can't look at one singular performance because each singular game can have so much randomness in it. The only way you get any kind of smoothing is when you look at larger samples, 20 games, 50 games, 82 games. And if you look at the projection system, using Cleaning the Glass, if it's a website out there, you can use the projections based on net rating. Coming in tonight, the Blazers had 6 wins. They were 6-10. Based on their net rating, which is something you expand again across 82 games, that projection was that they should have won 4 games. So they've outperformed their expectation by 2 games. Okay, extrapolate that out over 82 games. Now we're a quarter of the way into the season. That would mean they overperformed expectations by 8 games. That's when it gets to be a little bit more, right? Okay, but what's going to likely happen around the All-Star break? You're probably going to see some veterans traded away. You're probably going to see younger guys getting some more opportunities.
Guys from the remix coming up.
You might see some of the even some of the younger guys have their minutes cut down a little bit. You might see look, we all know what this is at this point. Like that's the goal is you're still trying to find that guy.
And guess what? So does the front office. The front office knows what's going on. If it's actually becoming a problem when we get to February and March and this team is winning too many games, then yes, they will make the adjustments necessary. Whether that's trading veterans perhaps a little more quickly than they originally thought, moving guys down, moving guys up. Like, they will make the necessary moves to make sure Portland has the best possible chance at acquiring a high draft pick.
And again, just before we dive into each individual player, like if you take a look at you want to talk about the randomness of each game, right? Mm-hmm. Tonight's game, the Blazers were in the 28th percentile in points per possession. So if you're taking a look at across every game in the NBA so far this season, they were in the 28th percentile. And it's not just 104 points. It's that their effective field goal percentage was at 47.8, which is in the 17th percentile. Do you think that that's going to win many games? The answer is no. The problem is Houston sucked even more tonight. Like that, if you look at basically all of Portland's wins this season, there has been some kind of crazy outlier somewhere. And it's directly impacted the game. Now, the Blazers are doing a good job in, we talked about creating your own luck.
Yeah, they're taking advantage of these situations when they occur.
Yes, but here's the thing, like a big indicator, these are the 4 factors that you'll hit on every single game. Effective field goal percentage, turnover rate, offensive rebound rate, and how often you get to the free throw line. Those are the 4 factors. Those are the things that you typically on any given night are the biggest deciders outside. And effective field goal percentage kind of takes in 3-point shooting because you're accounting for 3-point shooting.
Can you give like a 15-second explanation of effective field goal percentage for folks that don't know what it is?
It's your combination of you're adjusting from the extra points from 3. So it's the combination. You get the added bump of the extra 50% point that you get. So even though you're let's say you shoot 33% from 3, but you shoot 48% from 2. You get that bump because you get the extra point.
Because they're worth more points.
You're literally worth 50% more points.
Sure.
So, and you want your effective field goal percentage kind of as a team baseline to be like 55. That's where you're kind of shooting for on any given night. Okay. So the Blazers tonight, they were in the 17th percentile in effective field goal percentage, the 22nd percentile in turnover rate, which means they're in the bottom quarter of all games played this year in poor shooting and taking care of the ball. If you don't shoot well and you don't take care of the ball on any given night, what usually happens?
You lose.
Right.
So the L count.
But what they did tonight was they were able to compensate with Donovan Clingan absolutely dominating the offensive glass.
And
And
rebounds,
just got
insane.
them more possessions and got them more possessions. If you look at the way the night ended, both teams ended up with the same number of possessions. And that the biggest part of that tonight, I think you have to credit the rookie big man.
Yep.
I mean, he just went out there. They tried to hide Dylan Brooks on him in some zone schemes, and Donovan said, okay, I can't score because I don't have any post moves. I don't have any like effectiveness around the rim, but I'm a foot taller than you, so let me go ahead and take care of this.
Can we do the Wilt stat real quick?
Yeah, go for
it. It's just so fun because Wilt's stats are just so far ahead of everyone else. So Donovan Clingan had 19 rebounds tonight, right?
Waiting on this.
Career high for him. The rookie record in NBA history for most rebounds in a game is Wilt Chamberlain at 45. So Donovan Clingan with 19 rebounds was 26 shy of the rookie record.
Yeah,
close enough.
Klingan's at 12, and I'm doing all my research because that's already his career high, and I'm like, yeah, it's it's going to be up there, and Joe drops it's probably Bill, right? And I thought he was talking like all time.
All time is
and I'm like, no, Joe, the answer is always Wilt.
always Wilt.
It's always Wilt. And he's like, well, but Bill's at like probably like 20 something, right? Like 25, 20, what did you say, 24,
Yeah,
25?
yeah.
Which Bill Walton is at 25. That is the Blazers rookie record. But I was like, Wilt's at 45. So no, I
too
don't
many.
think I don't think Donovan's on pace for that one.
I just love this stat line, Tyree. It's just so fun when you have a player affect the game so much, and then you go over to the point side of the box score, and you see a big goose egg. It's so beautiful. 9 offensive rebounds, 19 overall, and 3 blocks.
Dude, I mean, it's kind of funny when you just go down the points and you like zero. But it's okay because he was important where it mattered. That's what y'all wanted from DC anyways. Y'all wanted defense because we didn't have it last year. You didn't ask him to score a point. Got our lick.
Yeah.
That is hot. That's fire. And I
Shout out
enjoyed
Fernando.
this game. Social media guy.
Yep.
Good man, good man. Let's go to the Blazer box here in just a second because I actually want to get to comments like this.
What are they saying, Tyree?
It's
What are they saying?
It's interesting. It's interesting. This comes from Blaze the Nugs. How many games do we need to win for you to admit you were wrong about not being concerned at all about these early season wins? We would be 4th place in the East right now.
Blaze the Nugs, technically that's wrong. We'd be tied for 7th in the Eastern Conference right now.
Look up the stats.
But yes, the East is bad. I don't know, when we get to 25 wins, let's see this team get to 25 wins, and then we can have a real conversation about this actually being too many wins. Again, I'm not going to get excited about this until we get into 2025.
Okay, again, think about it this way. Had they lost one of the games to Minnesota, had they lost one of the games to New Orleans, okay, this team would be 5-12. Does 5-12 sound very different?
It sounds like
than
5 games
7-10?
worse
Right?
instead of 2 games worse.
And that's the thing is like
it's just numbers. Man.
Yeah.
Again, they're basically like a game and a half in my head ahead of where I expected them to be. Let's see when they get to 20, 25, 30 games played, let's see where they are. Because I have a reeling suspicion they're going to keep kind of going at like a roughly 33, 35% win pace. And then you close off the faucets and it's a pretty steep drop off the cliff.
Mr. Smith, are you worried?
No.
Blazers winning too much right now for you?
No, because I was waiting to bring this comment up later, but I'll do it now.
Go ahead.
No, because like we literally mentioned earlier in the room, just because they got the lick back, it doesn't show that they're actually a better team than Houston. Because if we had to go one-on-one, I don't see the Blazers having enough firepower on the bench to even beat the Rockets right now. Listen, they were just off tonight. Ball just didn't go in hoop.
Yeah.
Ball didn't go in hoop. They started off a lot faster tonight. Anthony Simons, the 2 and then the 3, and then Shaedon Sharpe passed to the wing for a quick 3. They started off faster, but that doesn't automatically mean in NBA that it's a better team. In NFL, you get one game going at each other. Boom, boom, boom. That usually kind of decides it more, have a more heavy factor. But in terms of this, where you have a 7-game series where sometimes the lesser team gets the better game just because the balls didn't fall, ball didn't go in hoop.
Well, no, I mean, yeah. But the thing we're talking about, and this is like, I hate to just belabor this point, but apparently people are just going to keep going down this path. The Blazers won a game shooting 38% from the field. The Rockets shot 36% from the field. Like that's
reality.
Now, a big part of this is Dylan Brooks didn't have his season high 28 points like he did last night. Like that's a big part of this. Şengün had an okay game. Amen Thompson had a really good game.
Jalen and Fred were both way off. They combined to go 7 of 27.
I mean, you get that. Tari Eason, who was an absolute nightmare last night, was 0 of 7 and not a factor tonight. And I think that's the ups and downs of young teams and inconsistent shooting teams, and that's where you kind of find this. And I think it's actually pretty poignant that between both these teams. There's one guy on these two teams that has made his career as being a shooter, and you saw him have his best game of the season. Anthony Simons looked like he was trying to find his way last night, sitting in the background a little bit. It wasn't himself.
He was bouncy tonight.
Yep.
He was bouncy in the paint, and that's how you know Ant is feeling it. And he had a couple of those Dame-esque threes. He didn't make them, but it was the aggressiveness of the shot, stepping into it, jumping forward into the shot, and that's kind of the calling card of Ant when he's feeling himself in a game. So it was really nice to see those two things, and the fact that he was able to get those clutch buckets down the stretch and take care of business.
Let's see those apologies on using the hashtag RC Wrap Up. Let's go ahead and get those apologies out there. We want to hear from you. We got to hear from you guys, but let's first hear from our awesome sponsor, Dick Hanna Subaru. Oh, let's get into a tag board first. Dick Hanna Subaru, we love you. Give us a second. This is coming from Anton Smith. This isn't one game reaction, but I like the combo of Ant Sharp better than any future with Scoot in the starting lineup. Do you think it is possible that this is the future backcourt?
There's still a lot of room for this because Scoot hasn't. Like Ant will be the first one to tell you that he's struggled this first 14 games or whatever it was, 15 games for him. It's probably been the worst stretch of his career of not being a guy kind of in and out of the lineup when he was younger. And the thing is that Scoot didn't seize that opportunity when it was there. And doesn't mean he can't later on. But the pushback to, at least in favor of Ant, at least for me, is you saw Denny kind of working the middle of the floor with Ant on one side, Shaden on the other, and what that did to the Rockets defense, it had them off balance. One of them getting downhill, the other one relocating. There was a couple different plays where they fed off of each other. There was one play where Houston doubled off Anthony Simons to go chase Jeremy Grant, and I went, look, I know he's starting slow on the season, guys, but that's a career 40% three-point shooter on 10 a game. Like, what are you doing?
And he ripped the court on that.
Yeah, and it was like, and the same thing happened on the left side of the court. There was a little bit of an action between Shaden and Ant that Shea drew two, and they relocated off Anthony Simons, which I guarantee you, Ime Udoka's scouting report for Anthony Simons does not say relocate and leave him. He's literally number one. You guys can get all mad and all. He's the Ant guy. Ant is number one on the scouting report every single night for every opponent for this team.
4-11 from the three, but still the top guy to guard. He should always be.
You take 4 of 11 every night. Like if you're taking 11 threes and hitting 4 every single night, you're shooting basically 37% from 3 on that kind of volume. That's a great night. Like that's the kind of guy that bends your defense out and allows those lanes to open up where a guy like Denny Avdia can get downhill. A guy like Shaden Sharp could attack on the second side. Jeremy Grant's on the weak side hitting threes. Jeremy had the quietest 20-point first half I think I've ever seen. I looked up on this. When did Jeremy get 20?
I was so confused when you mentioned that.
He
I was like,
he was just knocking down the occasional three, kind of doing it quietly. It wasn't like loud possessions that the Blazers had. It was kind of in the sleepy part of the game, if you will. And yeah, again, this is exactly what you want from Portland. You want Ant doing it. You want Jeremy doing it. You want Denny running the second unit as well as he did, which I know we're going to get to a little bit later. But to go back to Scoot's not going to start if Ant's healthy.
No.
That's just what it comes down to. And also, the Blazers invested the 3rd overall pick with Scoot. He's going to play.
Yes.
He's going to have a lot of opportunities, but Ant is going to be the starter. And unless something happens throughout the course of the season, if people get moved, sure, things change at that point. But as long as they're both in the team and healthy, Ant will start and Scoot will come off the bench.
But even beyond that, I think it's when you're saying like stylistically, what does it look like? This is why the whole, like for me, Scoot's development, he's either got to be a really good finisher or he's got to get a more consistent shot because his gravity has to come from somewhere, right? Look at the way he was treated the other night as the defense kind of backs off of him, right? If you don't do that to Anthony or Shaden, you can't. Like even though Shaden's not that level of shooter yet, he still projects that like he's a threat. Right. And I think that's the thing is like Scoot has to find a way to be a threat and it can't just be as a creator. Now, Ant is not as good as a natural creator as Scoot as far as like a passer, but you compensate for that by having that gravity. And I think it's going to be an interesting choice. Whether or not it's Anthony Simons or Scoot Henderson, it could be a third option. They could go to the draft this year. Let's say they don't land number 1 or number 2 and Cooper and Ace are gone and they're looking at a point guard like an Agor Demon or a Dylan Harper. Well, you might end up going that route because maybe there's a guy there that's a bit more of a creator than Ant, but a better scorer than Scoot. And I think like that's kind of a decision the organization is going to have to make going forward is stylistically, which path do they end up going down for that guy at the 1? Because right now it's Shea at the 2. Like that's we know, right? As far as where the investment
put it in pen.
Klingon is probably going to be your guy at the 5. 2 is probably going to be your guy at the 3. Denny is probably your guy at the 4 right now for the long term. The spot that's really open right now is that 1, and then kind of like, if they get 1 or 2 in the draft and you're deciding between Ace or Cooper, like then you kind of make that move there. But like, that's the interesting thing about where they're at right now is that guys are starting to solidify spots for the future. That's what this season is about. It's not wins and losses this season. It's about that level of development and kind of you're not using Sharpies for everybody, but you're not using pencil either.
Even though 1 is the hole right now, it's still really fascinating that the Blazers are in this position so quickly. And yes, obviously a lot of it is the fact that Scoot hasn't had that singular game that we can point to and say, wow, Scoot had 27 and 9 with 1 turnover, grabbed some boards, and looked like he was in complete control of his game. We haven't seen that once yet.
Yeah. The closest you got was the literal last game of the season last year where he had 37 and 5. But you go and look at it and you're like, there's a little bit of garbage timey stuff in there. And it's like,
it looks better on paper than it did over the course of the game.
Look, and again, this is, people will say it's my bias, but like the Ant rookie game with Gary and Scal against Sacramento, like there was some juice on the line, and he was scoring in a game that mattered before Jaeger said, screw it, we're going to empty the bench, right? And like, that's the thing is like, I want Scoot to have that performance. I guess we should probably mention too, for anybody that doesn't know, the reason Scoot wasn't playing tonight was he got rear-ended in a ride share Thursday afternoon before they were down in Houston, and they were kind of monitoring him and taking care of him. So I've been told nothing serious. He should be good day to day, but get a little whiplash. It wasn't just taking the knee to the thigh that kept him out of the game.
2 car links.
Yeah.
2 car links. Be safe out there.
Especially in Houston. Come on,
Saturday
now.
night.
It's dry.
Yeah.
Sending the prayers to them. Anthony Simons led the way tonight, 25 points, and then right behind him, Shaden Sharp, 24, and then the man, Jeremy Grant, with 22. Let's hear from our good people over at Dick Hanna Subaru. Joe, what we got going on, brother?
Well, Tyree, at Dick Hanna Subaru, they're all about making the car buying experience a pleasure. Not only does every new Subaru come with a lifetime powertrain warranty, but for a limited time, you also get 2 Mount Hood Fusion passes with your purchase or lease. Dick Hanna Subaru, they believe it nice. Visit today and see what makes them different.
Oh, I was waiting for you to do your thing. Go ahead, toss.
It's time for Trend BA.
Trend BA, baby. Let's get to it. What's going on around the NBA that's not just on the West Coast, East Coast, all coast. Let's go ahead into it. And it's actually not on the Blazer box, actually. Let's go ahead to it when we get a second. It's actually about the new format that we could be seeing with the playoffs. This is coming from Brian Windhurst. He was talking about it. Western Conference executives believe the NBA could eliminate conferences and have the top 16 teams make the playoffs when the league expands to 32 teams. I apologize. It's
an idea.
It's an interesting idea. I think it could be, if you're on the Western Conference, you're happy because you know that conference is better. East, not so much.
Yeah, there's a couple different things here. Is that one, you would think at some point in time the East would get good. At some point in time. For the majority of your in my life.
It was last time like 1994.
Yeah. For the majority of our lives, the West has been utterly dominant.
Yeah.
Now, the East has won titles.
Sure, because it's top heavy at times, and they beat up on the lower teams, and they accumulate 60 wins, and they have a really good squad.
LeBron James spent a lot of time in the East.
Sure.
That was helpful with Miami and Cleveland. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, has a team other than Miami, Cleveland, or Boston from the East won a title?
Toronto.
Oh, yeah, Toronto snuck in there with the help of Kawhi Leonard from the West.
Big aberration.
Yeah.
They stole the biggest prize from the West, rented him for a year, then shipped him back.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. The reason why the Eastern Conference owners won't allow this is the home revenue. It's that simple. That one every one playoff game that they get is it's $1 million in their pocket.
The owners are most concerned about money?
No way.
What?
Like they're just not going to. They're not going to say no to that easy path. They're just
crazy.
Not. And you need was it 3/4 of
3/4?
So
yeah. You would need 23 of the 30 owners to say, yeah, that's cool. Which means you would need 8 Eastern Conference owners to say, yeah, We don't like the playoffs
Yeah,
that much.
yeah, we don't like money.
We don't care.
No. Go ahead and let the West take care of all that, especially with 2 more Western Conference teams coming in. Now, they would balance it by sending a team east.
Yeah, Memphis.
One of Minnesota, Memphis, or New Orleans. One of those 3 teams will be. And look, those 3 guys, you're going to have to break a pool cue in half, throw them into a room, and see which one comes out that wants to go to the East. Because none of them wants to stay in the West. Are you kidding me? You're going to have shorter travel and a lot more teams to beat up on. So like that should tell you everything you need to know about it. Like this all feels like a fever dream from the West, and somehow using some form of leverage to try to get something else out of this. But I have a very, very, very hard time seeing this ever passing.
Well, divisions don't matter anymore. The NBA changed that a few years back. So I don't know if it would actually make a difference, but the idea of eliminating the division format where you just have 1 through 16, and the top 8 make it at that point, or maybe they even expand it out to the top 10 in each conference, make it. Like maybe that's something you toy around with. Top 9, you give the first team a bye. Something like that. I think there will be some sort of playoff expansion because these things only go one way, right?
Yeah. They want more playoffs because it's more money.
Well, exactly. You never shorten a season. You always drag it out. That's what we have with the Damian Lillard play-in tournament. I think that's what it's officially called.
Officially called. Yep.
Yeah. And then if you add more teams, there's going to be more games, more money to be made. The only way you really do that, because you're not going to expand past 82, is more playoff games. So I think a 1 through 16 format would be interesting. Get rid of the divisions. Maybe change how the scheduling works.
Hey, turn the play-in tournament into, instead of the bottom 2 in each conference, it's just the next 4 overall.
But I mean,
regardless of conference.
But the East just isn't strong enough to even be in that top 16.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Is like they get their top 8 that they originally got, but instead of the 9-10 teams being the play-in teams, or the 7, 8, 9, 10, you use the bottom 4, 9, 10 in each conference. It's no longer each conference. It's the next 4 teams regardless of conference. Hey, and you know what? Maybe the mediocre East feasts there.
Right.
And that's the trade-off for them.
That's the Jimmy Butler play-in tournament, right? Where I coast to the regular season and then I win 14 playoff games in a row in the finals again. So if we did this right now, Tyree, just real quick.
Let's do it.
You would have 12 teams out of the West, and you would have 4 in the East right now.
Also, I can't believe I forgot this. Milwaukee also won a title with Giannis.
That happened.
Yeah.
And then I get a bunch of chicken nuggets. Yeah.
There you go. See, that's exactly 4 teams from the East.
4 teams from the East would make it.
And
Milwaukee's 5th right now at 8 and 9.
So then you're going to be kicking out. There's no Knicks. You're missing out on that fan base.
You'd miss out. Let's see. You'd miss out Brooklyn. You'd miss out Chicago, Atlanta. I mean, these aren't powerhouses right now, but you would miss out on those teams. And like Danny's point, the owners would miss out on that revenue. And even if it is just 2 games because you get swept, that's still 2 games.
Oh, yes, Jerry Reinsdorf, legendary giver away of money.
He's cheap. Philanthropist?
Yeah.
There we go.
Owns the Chicago White Sox, for those that aren't familiar.
Keep using the hashtag RC Wrap Up to join in our conversation. Let's go to the Blazer Box real quick because I just want to get to some more of your comments, see what you guys are talking about. This is coming from Chris Elkins. He's asking, how soon before there's a knee tenderness outbreak on this team?
Sore hamstring?
It's knee tendonitis, tendinopathy. Get it right.
Medical terms.
It will start February 8th. That's when it'll start. If things got out of hand, you might see it pop up maybe 2 weeks earlier. Little achy, breaky heart.
What does out of hand look like if they've won like
at that point
12 to 15 games?
18.
Really?
18 on that date.
Yeah. But if they're in January and flirting with 20, they ain't going to win again.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, I mean,
capture the flag.
So Daniel is basically delusional, is what you're saying. Do you see this? I'm about to bring it up.
No, I love the bit that Daniel's in on.
It is? All right, let's bring it up on the Blazer Box real quick. Because I thought you were basically saying Daniel is delusional.
No. He's going back and forth each night. He's having some fun with it.
He's having some fun. The tank is off. Playoffs, baby.
Yeah.
Much better effort tonight. Plenty to hang their hats on. Block Lobster. I like that. 20 boards. Simon Sharp, 50+ points. All right, well. And, I'm sorry. I got to say this. And the Beavers win. He wanted to bring that up.
Congrats.
Congrats
to the Oregon State Beavers.
It was.
Look, if you only support your squad in moments of glory, that's weak. Real pride is when your team loses, okay?
Real pride is when there's a verb.
Let's go Cougs.
Let's
go Cougs.
I feel like there's a deeper message there.
There's no deeper message.
Sure.
The Cougs suck. The Beavers won, and I still love the Cougs. The Cougs can be bad, and for me to still love them.
Is that the Coug Claw? Is that what it is?
This is a
cool
Blazers program. These people want to hear about the Portland Trailblazers basketball club and their win over the Rockets.
Well, they're talking a lot on the YouTube comments about this bench. Bench boys. I mean, listen.
Bench boys.
It was an interesting time. I mean, they had 28 points from Portland's bench and 31 from Houston's bench. What do you think about this rotation a little bit tonight with Chauncey Billups being able to bring in Delano Bannon a little bit earlier, but we saw the shots weren't falling. I also saw you made a little bit of comments of the shot selection. So I'm curious on your guys' thoughts on the rotation tonight in the bench boys. 28 points, only 3 minus Houston's. I mean, that's still pretty good coming from Chris Murray, Dwight Breeth, and those boys over on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way it looked tonight when Denny was running the second unit. I think it's really starting to come together in a meaningful way when Denny's on the floor. It's really starting to get there, and we've seen pieces of it. It was interesting that it came without Rob playing tonight because it's a back-to-back and Rob rested, because you see that connection forming so quickly with those guys. But Denny is really starting to get dialed in. The shots are starting to fall. He's getting to the free throw line consistently, another 6 free throw attempts, and getting that reliably off the bench in addition to good decision-making. He had 4 blocks and 10 rebounds as well, in addition to 14 points. Denny filled it up, and he played that incredible one-on-one defense with Şengün that we talked about to start the show.
Yeah, I mentioned it on Twitter. I talked to Denny, was the game before they left? I went up to him after the game and was kind of like, "Hey man, have you ever played center before?" And he was like, "No, not a single not a single second in my life." And I was like, "Well, I mean, you can rebound well enough. Like you've been one of, if not the best defensive rebounding wing in the league since you got in the league." And he's like, "Is that true?" Like he was kind of like, I pulled up the analytics and showed him. He was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." He's like, "I feel like I can do that." And he goes, "I feel like I'm strong enough to play against most bigs in the league." And Şengün is an absolute load.
We talked about what a tank he is, Danny,
like,
because when you look at him
strong.
up top, he just looks like kind of a normal NBA dude, not particularly jacked or broad, but he's tough to move around.
My man got junk in the trunk. He's got butt for days. For those new to the program, I like my big men with big butts. Big butts do not lie.
Danny's a buttman.
I am.
Wagon in the back.
Look, Donovan Clingan, he's got a little juice back there.
Don't skip like that.
It's good for him. Yeah, no, because so much of what you do as a big man is predicated on being a big boy.
Yeah.
It's like. God,
makes a good running back.
I hate doing this to him. Like Zach Collins got pushed around a lot and continues to get pushed around a lot because, like, he was the guy that was like Portland wanted to get a lot out of, but he's just smaller down low, and you don't see when Donovan gets moved, it's because he's overextended and he's still kind of gangly up top.
He can't swing back the other way.
Yeah, it's the tree in the wind kind of deal because he's so. But when you see him get rooted. I mean, he's throwing Rudy Gobert around, who's an absolute monster in the paint. Like you've seen him like take shot, in the chest from Zion Williamson drives and not break. It's like that's a strong dude. And then you go look at Denny tonight. It's funny. We talked about this in the preseason. Denny is listed as 6'9", 215 pounds. He told me he's 242 pounds. And again, big, thick body, just strong boy.
Why is that so off? Why is that so off?
I don't know. I asked him about that, and he said, "Yeah, they need to change it."
Well, you played college ball, and you said they always had you listed.
Oh, don't bring it up.
No good?
You know what? No, we're gonna bring it up now since you said it. First of all, when I was playing college football, they listed me at. I don't know if you've ever seen me in person, but I'm not 5'11" or 5'10".
No. Tailback.
Sorry,
right?
man.
You were
running back. Running back. In the Midwest. Played in Wisconsin. They had me at 5'10", but I'm actually 5'6".
Let's go.
I was saying,
I'm like 5'6", actually.
Don't take this the wrong way. I don't think you're 5'10" in the helmet and cleats.
5'7"? Do I get 5'7"?
Yeah,
Damn!
like,
give me something.
You get that.
Listen, it's all about the reason that my college did that was to scare opponents. But then we come out to the field and then they see me and then they're like, coach, I think you lied. And the coach's like, nah.
They don't put lifts in cleats.
No, not at all. Not at all. But it's just more of a advantage.
No, but you don't need to do it for Denny though, because he is that big and that strong. And again, you saw him tonight, 4 blocks, and he had one on the one on the Şengün that triggered the break that Ant went out and finished. To me that was play of the night.
Pretty basketball.
That was
the whole sequence.
Yeah, the whole sequence was great. Denny also had another play tonight that I think you saw the value of Denny Avdia. Again, we talked about how great he is as a defensive rebounder. He tips it out. Again, he's playing center, and so he's fighting in the trees with a very athletic, very good rebound. Like Şengün is an absolute Hoover vacuum on the glass. He gets everything. Then you've got Amen. Then you've got Eason. Like you've got a bunch of guys who get after the ball. But he tips it into an open space, grabs it with one hand, and rips a one-handed bounce pass down the sideline to Jeremy Grant. And it triggers a break that Jeremy ultimately gets fouled and gets to the free throw line. And I was like, that is why you get Danny Avdia right there, because he's a great rebounder, and more than that, he's got the vision and the willingness and the ability to make that pass and trigger that break and get the Blazers into those opportunities.
And I do think because the Blazers were knocking down outside shots tonight, Denny felt a lot more comfortable getting into the paint and then not having to feel like he had to do everything. I can share the wealth a little bit, and it paid off. And then it led to more successful possessions, more pushing the pace with the fast break. And I really feel comfortable with Denny running the second unit. And it wasn't just Denny. Chris continues to be a very reliable player when he is called upon. And I can't imagine there's few things harder in being a role player in the NBA when you can have 2 to 4 DMPs in a row. Then you got to come in and play 20 minutes. And Chris does that so well. When he's called upon, he knows exactly what he's supposed to do. He doesn't try to do more than that, and he's always effective in some way. It's a really nice addition to this team and probably a pretty small wrinkle compared to everything else that we're focused on. But I really like what I'm seeing out of Chris Murray.
7 points. He only had 1 3, but I remember that 1 3 in the corner.
It was important.
It was very important.
Yep.
His minutes matter.
The most important thing about that last 3 was that he took it, because he had just missed 2 wide open threes.
Yeah.
You did say that.
And
from the opposite corner. He missed on one side, he floated back to the other, got another look, and confidently shot it and made it.
And he just missed one on the possession before that. And the thing, if you know about Chris, is his confidence. That's what kind of dictates his play. And I've talked about this a lot on the radio, and I've written about this a little bit, but Chris has gone to what they call a no-dip 3, which means when he catches the ball, he doesn't dip down and then release. It stays in the shooting pocket and goes up. And what he told me was it has helped him not only with his makes are better, but his misses are better. And that allows for more consistency. But there's also, like, when you're doing that, you have to make sure you're ready and you're set, because it takes a lot more kind of core control and strength to do that. It's like, just try that sometimes. Keep somebody pass you a ball.
It sounds really hard.
It's a difficult thing, and he just started doing this 3 weeks ago. Him and his shooting coach, who the Blazers have brought over. He's the same shooting coach that helped Jeremy Grant literally break down his shot, and Jeremy to do that no-dip 3. It's helped clear Chris's mind, because if you watch Chris last year when he was struggling, he wears it on his face. I mean, there's no confusing how
bad
angry.
Poker face.
Oh yeah, when he's angry about himself missing something, you could see it. I mean, I talked to him after games where he would, and to me, more important than the make was the fact that he kept shooting. And I know how weird that might sound to some people, but that is the thing. It's your willingness to take the attempts that you need to take. That's actually more telling as far as you're projecting your three-point ability than just the makes alone.
Well, the one other guy on the bench, and look.
Maybe a little too willing?
DB Hooper has talked about that if he gets the look,
I was waiting on
he's
this.
going to take it. I'm not shy. DB actually had a good stat sheet outside of the field goal percentage overall, 2 of 9. He had 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a block, and just the 1 turnover. But DB, maybe sometimes you can be a little bashful. Maybe not to start a possession, we take a 3. Look, if you're feeling it and you're cooking and you're knocking it down, you have 12 points in the quarter, you get that look. Go nuts.
The heat check
if things
3?
are going well.
Yeah.
Right. But they weren't really heat check 3s. It was like, I'm just starting a possession.
18 seconds in the clock.
It's DB Hooper time, and he fires it up. And look, it's been a lot of fun with him. He's an important and necessary player for the Blazers right now, and he did find a way to contribute, even though the shots weren't falling. But I'm just saying, sometimes, maybe there's a little hesitation.
The 0 for 4 on the 2s was actually pretty surprising, because that's typically where he's better at. But Houston's really good at swiping and knocking and just kind of disrupting your ability to get to the rim.
A little crazy athleticism.
Yeah,
around
and
there,
and DB's kind of an off cadence, herky jerky guy already, and so when you kind of knock the ball away or jostle him or knock him off his path, it can set him off. But he was 2 of 5 from 3 tonight. The 2 that he hit, I think both times I went, no, okay. It's just, it's those kind of shots of like, hey man, there's like 17 seconds on the clock, and maybe we work for something a little bit better here, but you you can't argue with the results, but I will. That's that's kind of how I look at it. It's like you know this, Joe.
Like a coach.
I mean, I'm a process guy because over 82 games, the process matters more than the results when you're trying to work through stuff. But
it's fun to win.
Yeah, it is.
It's fun to win.
And beyond that, like I'd rather have to rein somebody in than coax them into doing what they should be doing.
You want a whoa horse, not a giddy horse.
Yes, exactly.
Continue to use the hashtag RC Wrap Up. Let's see those comments, but let's hear from our good people at Dick Hanna Subaru right now. Joe, I know they got something going on over there, right?
Tyree, did you hear Dick Hanna Subaru is giving out Mount Hood Fusion passes?
I didn't. Please tell me more.
Yeah, you get 2 passes, plus every new Subaru comes with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Your whole life. Your whole life.
They believe in nice over there.
That's right. It's a perfect time to grab a Subaru and hit the slopes this winter.
I still gotta go.
We're gonna go.
It's the plan. It's
Ski
the plan.
party.
Get a Florida boy on the mountains and let's see what they got going on. Let's go to Trim BA 2, folks. Let's see what they got going on around the league. You guys are gonna be happy about this one. Well, sad a little bit, but he was very, very important in y'all's 2019 playoff run. Mr. Rodney Hood.
Mount Rod Hood.
Mount Rod Hood. He retired this week after 8 seasons in the NBA. He was awesome with the Blazers. Played 86 games in Game 3 of the 2019 playoffs. He had that three-pointer in the 4th OT, and that's what sent them all the way going. Now, that was awesome by Hood, and we saw him in plenty times. We saw him with the Cleveland teams with LeBron, and we saw him what he was doing here with Dame and the Portland Blazers. Just unfortunate that his career couldn't last long because of those injuries.
Rodney Hood would have been a 15, 16-year guy if the injuries didn't cut his career short.
Yeah.
He had the skill set. He was a dependable player for the Blazers. He obviously has that signature moment in that 4 overtime game against Denver where if just Terry Stotts or Michael Malone would have subbed anybody into the game because everyone was exhausted, they would have knocked down that shot. And everyone's just sitting there like, I can't believe no one subbed in. I can't believe no one subbed in. And finally, Terry blinks first, brings Rod into the game, and he immediately knocks down that shot that plinkoed around the rim for a while and eventually dropped. And it's one of the signature moments from one of the best Blazer seasons in the last quarter century.
I remember sitting in that studio and we sat there and said, whatever coach breaks first.
Whoever does it.
Whoever breaks, because everyone is cooked.
Yeah.
I mean, they're done. Quadruple overtime will do that. I mean, especially, at altitude. You're done. And we're just sitting there, which coach? Is it Malone going to go or Stotts going to go? Who's going to be the one to do it? And you saw Rodney leave the bench. You kind of heard the murmuring of the crowd, like, "Ooh, here comes somebody." The thing that sucks for Rodney, obviously, is the Achilles injury. That ultimately did him in. Rodney was not a guy that was supremely bursty to begin with, and it basically sapped anything he had left.
Workman-like player.
Yeah, I mean, 6'7", big guard, got to his spots. I hesitate to say like Brandon Roy-esque, but he was in the sense of like he did as little as possible to get where he needed to go. And I mean that in the most complimentary manner. Like that's most guys you get, hezzy, tween, snatch back. It's like, no, I'm going to do a little.
Nice photo.
He just meanders to his spot.
Yeah, I'm going to in and out dribble, get to my spot, put my shoulder in you, clear,
That's right.
step, and fade. And it's like, I had to do a lot less work to do that. Like, to me, that economy of motion, those kind of players are some of my favorite players ever because anybody can sit there and be the Julian Newman YouTube dribble package video where you just pound the air out of the ball for life. Not many guys can just make one move and get to their spot and be like, stop me. And again, Rodney wasn't this all-star caliber player, but he knew what he was.
He
dependable
was a great
role player. Yeah. Exactly. Very, very dependable guy.
LeBron depended on him in Cleveland. Dame was dependent on him here. We're wishing him awesome endeavors in his new future. Just wish we could have saw him a little bit more on the NBA.
Our guy got $27 million. So Rodney, great career, pal.
Dude,
8 years.
Dude, your bank account's nice.
Pretty good.
You don't got to worry about too much. But I guess we should worry about Blazers. What's next for this team? What's the best thing going forward for this team? We know that they're going to play Sacramento in Game 3 of the NBA Cup. That's going to be this Friday. We'll preview that in a little bit. But what's the best course scenario for this team right now? You got some wins. You got others about the tank, the Cooper flag, whatever. We know where we are in this moment. November 23rd, 2024. But what's the best move forward?
I mean, I think if the Blazers can sneak one more out of this road trip, you would call it a successful road trip.
I agree.
Depends on which side of the fence you fall on as far as the success.
again, I don't.
I'm just saying.
I understand.
I am
You
conceding,
make my head
I am
hurt.
conceding that to them.
I speak for myself.
Okay.
So when I speak, I'm talking about my opinion. These are the opinions of Joe Simon.
Okay.
So
You ain't get my head hurt.
I think if the Blazers can get one more out of these last two, I think it's a successful road trip, especially if we see what we saw tonight. The nastiness, the chippiness, and with the sarcastic smile on his face when Dylan Brooks is acting like Dylan Brooks. All of that kind of stuff is what I want to see out of this team. And I just want to see it consistently over the next few weeks as we kind of round out the rest of the NBA Cup games that we have. And I know it's almost impossible for the Blazers to win their group now, but those games are still going to have a heightened level of attention on them.
Sure.
And I think that is the thing that we can look to in these little pockets of the season as we roll through Thanksgiving, as we approach Christmas, and say, all right, over the next 10 to 12 games, can these Blazers try to get a split, be competitive? Again, I know we want to lose every game. You want to lose every game. I don't want to lose every game. I want to enjoy this. It's going to be 82 games long. So that's a very long-winded way of saying that I want the Blazers to win one more game in this trip. I feel like it's a success. You come home, you see what goes on in the NBA Cup, you have a little turkey, you move on to the next week.
Anytime you can get anywhere near a 500 road trip, and that's for any team in the NBA. That's always the goal when you go on a road trip. It's 500.
Let's break even.
Get at least that, and that's a success. They're going to take on the Memphis Grizzlies on Monday.
Yep, let's bring up the Blazer box real quick while Danny's talking, show a little bit of the schedule.
And with this schedule, you take a look at it, it's like, well, you got Memphis, you got Indiana, Sacramento, Dallas, Clippers, and then you see Utah, and you're like, ooh, that one's juicy because Utah, boy, do they suck. Them and the Wizards are going to set futility records this year.
And then I don't care. Anytime we play the Lakers, I want to beat the hell out of that team.
That's
I
always
don't care.
fun. Well, I mean, you always have to worry whether or not Bronny James is going to be active.
That's true.
That's going to be tough.
Secret weapon.
Yeah, no. But again, this Memphis team put it on the Blazers, and I saw a lot of people get like, how did the Blazers lose to this injured Grizzlies team? Because the Grizzlies are really bleeping good. Like, they have more depth than probably anybody else in the league.
We're going to get you a bleep button.
Yeah, I mean,
soon.
look, it's for everybody who was disappointed in that loss, like, oh my God, yeah, they beat them, and yeah, the Blazers gave up in that game, everything that came with that. They're really good. They are like 11, 12 deep. Now, here's the flip side of that. John Morant is going to be out again. Marcus Smart is going to be out again. Vince Williams Jr. is going to be out again. Zach Edey is going to be out. Gigi Jackson is going to be out.
Wow.
Yeah. The only one that's going to be back for that game is Desmond Bane.
Maybe you need to suit up for him.
I mean,
ain't got nobody.
It's
Daniel will give you some grit and grind minutes.
He's
Maybe
gonna
not
give
this
us
current
some great
iteration.
defensive minutes
Yeah.
too.
Maybe not this current iteration.
Like I will set a screen and I will go chest to chest with Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
Like those two things you can count
I
on.
want to see you, Dylan Brooks, in battle balls. Can we do an opposing NBA player?
Todd.
What do we have to do?
Todd.
When they come back to town, when Houston comes to town, let's get it going.
By the way, I'm sorry. I'm just going to interject real quick because this just reminds me of a bit we tried to start at the beginning of the season and
Getting
haven't
me in
really
battle
gotten
balls?
to. Yes, folks, use the hashtag RC Wrap-Up. If you want to take on Danny Marang in battle balls at a Blazer game, just submit your profile. We'll vet it out on the show. We'll talk about it. Yeah, tail of the tape. Your reach, your height,
my goodness.
your weight,
40 time
career record in battle balls. Danny is 1-0.
Do they do 40s at NBA Combine?
No.
So what do we?
Shuttle run?
Yeah.
There we go.
Give me something just so I know we're matching up right.
All right.
Like I don't want to look if you're $150 and I'm gonna go full Jake Paul on you. I don't want to beat up on elders.
Danny wants someone in his weight class.
Yeah, I mean, look again. Most people aren't going to be in my weight class. I understand that, but get in the realm. Like it's just
You mad at Daddy? Danny, take him on in battle balls. Use the hashtag RC
I have
Wrap-Up.
no hips and no knees. You have all the excuses in the world built in for you to like, oh, I'm going to beat up on this 40-year-old crippled fat guy. Please come, bring it,
and don't
bring it so that I can legally knock you into another dimension and not get arrested for it.
And
I would
stats.
I would love any hater out there. Open invitation.
I love that all this rant goes on when it says what comes next for this team after this win. Bring it to the Pontiac Silverdome. Me and Hulk Hogan will take
a couple of lefts, a few rights.
Gladly. If you don't know what we're talking about, we're talking about those giant inflatable balls where you see guys bouncing. Look, I'm just going to tell you, even with my hips and knees being completely ruined, low man wins and my legs are this long.
Danny will die out there. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now that's good producing.
Yeah. Appreciate you, our producer back there,
That right
Danny,
there.
man. Awesome from
Well
you.
done, Danny.
Listen, guy. I mean, hey, this guy right here is a Beaverton state champion. All right, he don't play around.
We will have to get somebody in on this one way or the other. We've been trying to do this. We've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah.
This
make it happen.
This has a genesis from another show.
Oh my god! Don't
years ago.
Please don't do.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah. Don't add 6 inches to your height either, or 10 pounds to your weight. But let's go ahead and hear from a little more of our sponsors. Joe, what you got for me?
Soccer City USA has a brand new podcast to love, Unfiltered Soccer, featuring 2 U.S. soccer legends. Listen to Landon Donovan and Tim Howard. They'll give you the inside scoop from the MLS to the Premier League. Watch on YouTube or listen wherever you get your podcast, Tyree.
This is still Soccer City USA. I know we're talking Blazers. Shout out to the Thorns and Portland Timbers on awesome seasons. This is still Soccer City USA.
Footy. They like to play footy here.
They do. Let's go to a little bit of Trimba because I'm also heartbroken, my friends. I am very heartbroken for when I saw this news. Not on the Blazer box, but the Trimba for this week is actually around the. I know. I didn't want to talk about it, but we're gonna do it. Around the Horn, ending in 2025 after a 23-year run on ESPN. I hate this.
I remember the show coming around my senior year of high school,
and
I remember this is fun. I mean, this is Woody Page in his prime, the little board behind him. You know, you had a lot of the OG big time.
Bob Ryan.
Yeah, you had columnists.
Old Grizzly Bears.
Yeah, and which, I mean, Woody wasn't then. I mean, Woody was in his maybe late. I mean, he was near my age.
No.
I mean, he's not that old, is he?
No. Okay. Over under 78 for Woody Page.
Under.
I don't think he's that old.
I'm taking
he's
under.
He's 78.
Let's go.
Okay, so
No!
So he's in his
You
50s.
looked this up before.
Cougs can win. Huh?
No, they can't.
Let's go.
All right.
Cougar Country. If you find yourself and you're in Pullman, go to Cougar Country.
There you go.
You know what? Since you did that, we're going to bring up the
Or
Blazer
to any
box.
country
Sorry.
bar on a Thursday night.
Sorry, bring up the
do
Blazer
we
box
got?
since he wants to do it. Sorry. Pat McAfee chose against the Cougs this morning.
Pat,
all right?
Pat knows football.
He is the only one that chose against the Cougs this morning.
To be fair,
Pat
I
knows
was with
football.
the rest of that panel on that because we said it last
Why
night.
did they pick that game? What are they doing? There's so many real college football games to talk about.
Wow, you have Beavers watching this broadcast.
I'm literally a Coug. It's fine. They know
Oh
what
my
it is.
gosh.
They know what it is.
I guess so, man. Well, either way, growing up with that show was awesome. Seeing these shows inside the NBA, moving to ESPN, I feel like this is just going to be weird.
Well,
it's just going to be different to see these things.
What I like about it is yes, it started as like real traditional newspaper columnists. They've been at the same paper for 30 years. But then the show really evolved into breeding new talent for ESPN. You know, you had someone like Amina Kimes. I think Mina's still a regular panelist on the show. You know, Bomani's been on that show. Pablo Torre's been on that show a lot. Really a lot of like the elder millennial, like young Gen X group, like that's kind of where they got their bones. That in the Levitard show.
The last group of like people who have personalities on the network.
Right.
Like I mean that about as stinging as I probably could because we grew up in the era of Stu Scott and SVP and everybody else that has their own radio show now.
Well,
that was once the face and personality of the network.
Michael Smith.
I mean, now
Michael Smith was on that show
guy.
very early. For sure.
But that was kind of like their breeding ground for the new talent. This is where they got them out because you didn't build personalities on SportsCenter anymore. Like that's not what you did. So you did them in the other programming, and you didn't use PTI because that was Wilbon and Kornheiser.
Yeah,
still going.
Which
by the way, I can't handle that show when one of those guys are gone.
No,
it's just totally different. One of those guys.
Look,
they're legends.
You
man.
need the dynamic of those two guys. And Around the Horn started as, hey, this kind of programming, PTI, is really working. Where you're having like these intelligent debate shows, and then you have something like Around the Horn. And to be frank, I'm a little surprised Around the Horn lasted as long as it did because there's so many. Well, because there's so many imitators, Tyree. It's not because like when it was just PTI and Around the Horn, there wasn't all of these shows. Radio shows weren't really simulcast on television the way they are now. It was a very different environment, and so it had sort of a, I won't say dated format, but a really replicated format. I think the reason PTI is so successful is because of the personalities, right? And Around the Horn is the same way, but you know, Mina Kimes on 4 shows, you know, Bomani and Pablo Torre, you can hear those guys in other places, whereas PTI, that's like, well, I shouldn't say it's the only place you get those guys because Kornheiser's on a million podcasts, did radio forever.
A lot of these guys are everywhere now.
It is just a format that's really been duplicated a lot, and so I really enjoy it. I don't watch it as much as I used to because there is so many content choices out there, but a hell of a run, really.
It is. And no way you put it, it was eventually going to go. PTI, as now when they go away, when ESPN announced them, then we riot. Then we have a problem because that is a very legendary show, just not because of the personality, but because of the history behind it.
I mean, I think that's a show, and as we go full dark, it goes away when one of them goes away.
Oh, Kornheiser will do that until he cannot speak.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like and I think that's why it's still going, is because those two guys love it and they love working
and they
with
care.
Each other. Yeah, and that's the thing. I want to pull off because there's a hashtag that came up, or a question that came up with the RC wrap-up question, and I think this is actually an interesting debate in that, particularly after of what we saw from Donovan Clingan tonight. Gets 19 rebounds, gets a couple of blocks. If Clingan breaks the record for consecutive games with the block, surpassing Alonzo Mourning at 57, does that do enough to get him Rookie of the Year? What would that do for DC in terms of star power and end of season awards? It certainly vaults him into the narrative. And that's so much of Rookie of the Year beyond counting stats is narrative, right? I don't know if it would get him there, but if he's doing that, he's probably doing other stuff alongside it.
This the one you were talking about right here?
And getting 19 rebounds, 9 offensive.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the season, let's say he averages, because the way that I said his season would go, his per 36 would probably be like 12, 12, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. I was like, you can probably find the tweet out there. I was like, he's going to put up bonkers per 36 numbers, but does he have the ability and capability to play the minutes necessary?
Is he going to be on the floor long enough?
I mean, how many minutes did he end up getting with tonight?
26.
26. Okay, so 25, 36. When I think a big part of that was they wanted to keep Danny out there because number one, he could handle Şengün and the rebounding wasn't suffering, but it also gave them an additional playmaker. And there's going to be nights like that where maybe you don't go with Donovan because maybe he doesn't necessarily bring you the offensive juice, even if he is absolutely murdering on the glass. But if he puts up crooked numbers like this where he has a 20 rebound night, or he has another 8-7 block night, or he does have a 17-point scoring night, he might do just enough with these big asterisk performances where you're like, well, this rookie class isn't really dominating.
I can't remember if we said this did we talk about Michael Jordan on the show? Or was that
no, we were talking off the air.
So shout out to Travis Demers because I caught him on the way in doing the halftime highlights, and he said that Donovan Clingan on this streak, blocks in a game to start a career. He passed Michael Jordan tonight. So MJ had 16 games to start his career.
Pretty athletic.
And Travis had a great line. He said something to the effect of, I don't know how many times I'm going to say Donovan Clingan passes Michael Jordan on a list, but he did, but he did tonight.
Anytime you pass Michael Jordan on the list, you take it.
You got to put it out
He's
there.
been in a conversation with Wilt and MJ in one night. Let's go, DC.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, he's going to be competing up with Jared McCain, who just had 30 points for Philadelphia 76ers, but it would be such a big get if he's able to get.
Even being in the conversation, Tyree, I
just
think
a
is
little
big.
bit.
Yeah, if he's in that top 5-7 mix and he has a big night and they talk about him on some show that's not like a local Blazers show, that they could get him more kind of national attention. It's that. And shout out to our guy, Eric Garcia Gunderson, who talked about getting Tumani in that all-defensive team conversation, getting him in the sophomore game conversation. So there's little things that you can point to, little accomplishments that the Blazers can have or at least point to or campaign for as we go through the season. And considering where we thought Donovan would be in terms of actually getting him on the floor versus can this guy actually play enough? And now it's perhaps an all-rookie team conversation. That's pretty exciting stuff, Tyree.
We don't have enough time in the show to talk about Nick's comment. I don't think we do. Tumani's best Blazers defender since who? I think he's been better than West and Nurk as a defender.
Yeah, he's not better than Nick. Not yet.
Nick is tough.
But that's the kind of profile he's picking up. But that's the thing is if 2 continues this, and I'm already starting to get feedback from other front offices around the league of what they think of him.
Yeah.
He's getting the behind-the-scenes push, and you're seeing it. The shameless plug, I've got a piece coming out tomorrow that'll be on my Patreon. That is actually going directly into how much opponents hate playing against Tumani Kamara.
That's going to be interesting for you.
Yeah, and real quick, Donovan Clingan currently averaging 12 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks per 36.
Oh, boy.
So about exactly where I put him.
There you go. Well, we appreciate you guys joining us on episode 17 of the Rip City Wrap-Up, Studio C on the Rip City TV network. Joining us after a Blazers win, Are they going to have another one? They're going to be on the road again against the Memphis, 5 p.m. against 5 p.m. All right, I'm tweaking out. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I think I'm just excited about the win. All right, I'm just going to end the show. Appreciate you guys joining us. I'm tired. I'm going home.
Hi, Tired. I'm Danny.
Yeah, all right. Goodbye, guys. I'm tongue twisting. I'm out.